What's up, everybody? Carolina Jackpot coming at you. It's Tuesday, October 30th. We have a full slate of games on the board. The picks and predictions for week number 10. We're getting into it, man. It is only a few more weeks of regular college football left, and then it will be time for those conference championship games. So let's get cracking on these. We got some Tuesday night games tonight here in the Mid-American Conference. Kent on the road at Bowling Green. Bowling Green's laying 1 point at home. Both of these are terrible teams, 1-7 records. I'm going to give the edge to the home team, the Bowling Green Falcons. In this one, I think they'll cover that 1 point and cruise to a victory there over the Kent Golden Flashes. Miami, Ohio on the road. Buffalo laying 7 points at home against the Red Hawks. I've been high on Buffalo all year long, taking them against the spread numerous times. They have not let me down yet, so I don't think they're going to do it here. Again, battle of two pretty good quarterbacks there, Tyree Jackson for the Buffalo Bulls and Gus Ragland for Miami of Ohio. A team with 3-5 records. They're still pretty good. Northern Illinois will be at Akron. I believe this is a Thursday night game, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's Wednesday night. Akron's a 5-point underdog at home to NIU. Akron's had a pretty decent win this year on the road at Northwestern earlier in the season. NIU, though, always tough out in the Mid-American Conference, and I think they'll get the job done here. 5 points is not a lot. So let's go with the Huskies there to cover the spread against Akron. Temple at UCF. Temple is a 10.5-point underdog at UCF. Mackenzie Milton listed as probable for this game from all accounts that I've seen. They were off last week, so everybody's had a chance to get healed up. They played East Carolina 2 weeks ago, and not a really impressive victory there. They did win by like 28 points, but it was a lot closer than I think most people thought it would be. Temple's not a bad team. They definitely can run the ball and have knocked off Cincinnati, who was previously undefeated and ranked inside the top 25, and they also knocked Maryland off earlier in the year. So Temple was definitely capable of pulling an upset. I don't know that they're able to pull upset of this kind of proportion. I think UCF's just too good, too talented. It is a home game for the Golden Knights, or I would probably take Temple in this one to cover the spread, but I just can't do that here. Can't pull the trigger against them. I haven't bet against UCF all year, and I'm not going to today. And why did I just do that? UCF cover the spread there. Whoop, little snafu. That's all right. Pitt on the road at Virginia. It's a Friday night. It's a big game in ACC Coastal. Virginia with one loss there. They're playing some pretty good football. Came off a win over UNC at home. They've also knocked off Duke. And they are pretty much in the driver's seat there in the Coastal Division. If they win out, they also beat Miami at home a few weeks ago. If they win out, they are going to be in the ACC championship game taking on the Taters. Pitt, not a slouch. And they've been up and down this year. They took a real pounding on the road at home against Penn State early in the year. But they've kind of rebounded. They've had some decent victories there. Last week's win at home was really good. It was 55-44, I think, over Duke. I called that one. They are not a bad team at all either. I think Virginia's just got a mission this year to win that Coastal crown and make it to the ACC championship game for the first time. And I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to win this game, and I think they're going to cover that 7.5 against the Pitt Panthers at home on Friday night. Colorado on the road to Arizona. Arizona's a 4-point favorite. Colorado was looking really good early in the year. Undefeated at 1 point until a loss at USC. They've also lost to Washington in a pretty decently close game here. And Arizona was a team that got blown out by, who was it? Was it Cal they got blown out by? They also have lost to UCLA by a couple of points. I am going to kind of go against that wisdom here. I'm going to go with the road team in this one, the Colorado Buffaloes. I don't think Arizona was very good. I think they were highly thought of early in the year, but I don't put a lot of stock in them. Louisville on the road at Clemson on Saturday. Clemson's laying 37.5 at home in Death Valley against the Louisville Cardinals, and it may even be up higher than that now. In fact, I think it is. Their coach, Dabo Swinney, was just talking up Louisville today and how good they are on offense. And every word that dripped off his tongue was just pure BS. And you could just feel it. Louisville's terrible. They're last in the ACC in almost every imaginable, measurable category. I don't look for that to change at all this weekend. 37.5 is a lot of points. And you got to think, is this juggernaut of mashing these teams like Clemson's been doing going to continue? I don't think it's going to continue the entire year, but I don't see it stopping on Saturday and not being stopped by Louisville. This is a team that has went downhill almost faster than – they've went downhill faster than Florida State. I mean, it was just 2016. They were, at the forefront of the college football land. You remember when they played Clemson in 2016 in Death Valley? That was a top 5 matchup. That went down to the wire. They lost it 42-36. This year, I mean, it's just they'll be lucky to keep this game within 50 points. Clemson will cover the spread here. I don't see Louisville being able to put up much of a fight in this game. Hope I'm wrong, but I am. South Carolina on the road at Ole Miss. This is an interesting game. It is a game where I feel like South Carolina is definitely going to be able to control some clock and run the ball because Ole Miss defense, run-wise, is terrible. Their defense against the pass is terrible. I definitely think that Jake Bentley and the running game for South Carolina can definitely peel the top off that sorry Ole Miss defense. The thing is, are they going to do it? And South Carolina's defense last week did not impress me against Tennessee until the fourth quarter when we came up with a couple of defensive stands there to keep them from being able to pull back ahead or tie that ball game up. They kept on giving up third down conversion after third down conversion after third down conversion to Guantanamo Bay. I mean, made this guy look like a Heisman Trophy candidate, and that was just really disappointing. And I think this Jordan Tamu kid is the type of player that can give South Carolina some problems on defense. So the thing that we cannot afford to have happen here is for us to come out and start off slow. Have Jake Bentley start off like Jake Bentley does, throw an interception, come out slow, not be able to move the ball, and let Ole Miss get ahead by 7 or 14 points early on because I'm telling you, you're not going to be able to come back against them like we were able to come back against Tennessee because they're going to just keep scoring. If they feel like, they can score against us and they start smelling blood, then I have a feeling that it's going to be a long afternoon at the ballpark. But if we can keep this game at our pace, run the football, keeping it balanced, I feel like South Carolina should be able to win this game. I think Boom and the boys are going to come up with just enough of a defensive game plan to be able to hold Jordan Tamu, Scotty Phillips, and the Ole Miss receiving corps in check. And I'm going to take South Carolina in this game to win. This is a pick-em right now, so I'm taking them straight up to win this game at Oxford on Saturday afternoon. West Virginia on the road at Texas. It's a big game for West Virginia. They have the one conference loss against Iowa State. Iowa State was upset, and there's still, you have West Virginia, Texas, and Oklahoma. They're all kind of round robin there. Somebody's got to eliminate somebody, and two of those three are going to end up playing each other in that Big 12 championship game. Who's it going to be? West Virginia has looked good this year in stretches. They had a couple of hiccups there against Kansas and who was it? the Iowa State game. Well, they didn't look that good. They didn't look that good against Kansas. But, man, they came out last Thursday night against Baylor and beat them like they stole something. I mean, it wasn't even close. It was over in the first half, or over in the first quarter, actually. So this is a road game, hostile environment. Texas coming off a loss to Oklahoma State. I mean, you really don't know what to expect here. This is a tough one, and this is a game that I would stay away from. I just think that Will Greer and West Virginia, I just think they're on some kind of mission this year to win that conference and, make it a New Year's Six bowl at least. If not, make a run at the college football playoff. I mean, it's not inconceivable what they couldn't if they win that conference championship. I'm going to take Mountaineers here to win this game at Texas and cover and continue to stay in the driver's seat toward that Big 12 championship game. I'm just high on West Virginia this year. They're really good at the skill positions, and they have just enough defense to keep the good teams at bay. So, Iowa at Purdue. Purdue is laying 3 points at home against Iowa. They are favored. This is an interesting matchup. Purdue's had some tough games here in a stretch. You had the tough game again. Ohio State, take nothing away from it. They did win and won handily, but it was still a tough game physically and mentally draining, I'm sure. And last week they go on the road to East Lansing, Michigan, and don't play that well against the Spartans and lose 23-13. Now they're at home, and they're no longer the hunter, they're the hunted. And they're a 3-point favorite against Iowa. This is uncharted waters for the Boilermakers. And how are they going to perform here? Iowa has a good defense, and their quarterback, Nate Stanley, he makes enough plays to win. He's not a great elite quarterback by any means, but he's above average. And Iowa is just a team that's I think they're just a little bit more physical. I think they have the edge of having been there before and having a knack for playing in big games. And I just think that they're going to come out and they're going to win this game. I think Purdue's just a little bit probably banged up and probably a little bit exhausted after a couple of tough games. And I'm going to take the fighting. I don't know if they're fighting. I'm going to take the Hawkeyes, cover the spread against Purdue, and I think they're going to win that game. Albeit it's going to be a close one. That'll be a good game. Don't take anything away from the Boilermakers, and it would not shock me at all to see them win this game, but I'm just going to go with my gut and take the Iowa Hawkeyes. Penn State on the road at Michigan. Wolverines laying 10 at home against Penn State. This is kind of a big line, especially when you're playing Penn State. Kind of been a disappointing season this year for the Nittany Lions. They stand at 6-2, but I think they at the beginning of the season thought that they would be one of the ones competing for a shot in the college football playoffs eventually, but it just has not come to fruit this year. They had the loss at home to Michigan State earlier on in the year, and then, of course, that really disappointing loss earlier on at home against Ohio State. They had to be that had to hurt too, watching Purdue run all over Ohio State. So, Penn State, I don't see them winning this game. I think Michigan's the better team here. I think Shea Patterson gives them enough of an edge offensively to put them over the hump in this game, what they were not able to do last year. But give me Penn State to play a really tough game. They always do. They don't get blown out by anybody. Even when they lose, it's always really, really close competitive games. In this 5 versus 14 matchup, I'm going to take Michigan to win this game here, but I'm going to take those Nittany Lions to cover that spread. That 10 points is a little bit too much. Duke on the road at Miami Hurricanes. Hurricanes laying 8 points at home against Duke. Of course, Duke's been kind of disappointing this year and kind of up and down. As a matter of fact, you're talking about the loss on the road last weekend to the Pitt Panthers. I don't think anybody was really expecting that, except for your boy Carolina Jackpot, who called that one. But they also have lost at home to Virginia. They've lost 2 in a row, actually, and an inexplicable blowout loss to a really bad Virginia Tech team. Miami is an 8-point favorite at home. They haven't played good this year either. They haven't looked like what we thought they were going to be. But at home, they're a lot different team than when they play on the road. And Duke is just kind of reeling this year at this point in time. You know, like I say, coming off of a 9-point loss at Pitt. Before that, 2-touchdown loss at Virginia the week before. I think the bleeding will eventually stop next week when they're at home against UNC. But I don't think it's going to stop this week. I'm going to take the Hurricanes, the terrible Canes, in this one to cover against the Duke Blue Devils. Notre Dame at Northwestern. Notre Dame is laying 8.5 on the highway in Evanston. I believe this game is in Evanston. I don't think it's at a neutral site. No, this one's at Ryan Field in Evanston, Illinois. The line's actually grown. Northwestern sits at 5-3. The Fighting Irish sitting at 8-0. Those 5-3 games, Northwestern has just played some close games. They really do. Last week, a win against Wisconsin at home. I think it was kind of an upset, but you got to look at that. A couple of weeks ago, at home, they almost lost to Nebraska, a winless team. And then week before last, they go on the road to Rutgers, and they almost lose to them, 18-15. Rutgers is by far the worst team in the Big Ten. So, they're kind of up and down. They have a win at Michigan State and a win at Purdue, but they lost to Duke. They lost to Akron, and they did play Michigan pretty tough here. This is a tough one. This is kind of a tough one still. Northwestern's everybody's upset. I don't think they're going to win this game. I think they're going to have a big crowd here. I think Notre Dame, though, I just think that they're going to make some kind of statement here that they do belong in that college football playoff. A lot of people are expecting them to lose a game somewhere in this last 4 and not make the college football playoff and disappoint everybody again. I don't see that happening. And Northwestern is just not they're not that good of a team. They've been fortunate to catch some teams, I think, kind of napping on them. And, all you got to do is look at this Rutgers score. You can just tell they are not that good of a football team, and this loss at home to Akron, they're not consistent. Give me Notre Dame in this one, to lay or to cover the 8.5 points there. UCLA on the road at Oregon. Oregon's a 10-point favorite at home against the UCLA Bruins, another team that has played better of late. I think they've won 2 games so far this year. They're 2-6. The Ducks 5-3. UCLA's gotten a win over Arizona. They also got that win at Cal, which was their first one. I just don't. I don't see them being able to keep this game close at Oregon. Justin Herbert is going to put the ball in the air. They're going to score some points against this young UCLA defense. I think Oregon and Utah are somewhat on the same level talent-wise. Of course, both teams play different styles of football, but Utah absolutely blew UCLA out of the water on their home field, and then they go to Oregon and they're only 10-point underdogs. I don't see that happening there. I think Oregon is a much better team than UCLA, and I think they're going to cover that 10 with ease. Oh, man. Now we're getting into some good ones here. We're getting into some good action. You got Alabama on the road at LSU. 13.5-point favorites against the LSU Tigers. These games over the past 6-7 years have been really close. LSU premieres. They're ranked number 3 in the college football playoff rankings. I kind of think that's a little bit of an overreaction. I really don't think they're that good. But, I don't know. It's almost like they got to put somebody from the SEC up there just for whatever reason. I'm not buying LSU, man. I'm just not buying them yet. But excuse me. Just not buying them right now to turn it down a little bit. Turn it down a little bit. Trying to make a video here. Okay, where were we at? Sorry. I am not buying LSU as a number 3 team right at this point in time. However, I think that they're going to be amped up for this game. This is going to be a good one. It's at LSU. It's a night game. It's exactly what they want. It's right in their wheelhouse, and I think they're going to keep it close. I think this will be, a touchdown game. I think Alabama will end up winning, but look for Tua to perhaps throw his first interception this weekend. But I think Alabama's still going to be victorious in this game against LSU. I think there's just a little bit too much offense there, and I don't think LSU is going to be able to keep up with them. But give me LSU here to cover the spread in this game, but I don't think they're going to win it. Stanford on the road at Washington. Once again, Washington, a 3-loss team. Stanford is a 3-loss team as well, I believe. Both teams disappointing this year. Washington's coming off a loss to Cal, and Stanford, of course, has dropped several games that should have won. And neither one of them come to be what I think they were expected to be once the season kicked off. It's on the road. It's at Washington. Stanford doesn't get blown out, though, either. This is another team that keeps things close. They're tight, play tight ball games. They did get kind of blown out at Notre Dame, though, earlier in the season. I guess we could say that one. But I am going to go on ahead here. I'm going to take the Stanford Cardinal in this game to at least cover the spread. I think Washington's down a little bit. Give me Stanford there. Cover the spread. Don't think they're going to win, but they're a little bit tougher than you give them credit for. They went on the road, or were actually at home last week against Washington State, kept that thing close. I'm going to just stick with them in that one to cover the spread. And Georgia on the road, laying 9.5 points on the highway at Kentucky. This is an interesting matchup. It's probably the biggest home game that Kentucky's had in 25 years or more. They're ranked inside the top 10 right now. Their high ranking kind of befuddles me too. I mean, they've had a good season. And I know there's only so much you can do with these teams, but they have not. Come on, they have no offense whatsoever. In fact, I think the last time they scored over 20 points was when they beat my Gamecocks. And you can even go back and look at that game. Think what the eye test tells you. It was our team we just played absolutely terrible against Kentucky. That's how they were able to beat us by 14 points. If we had played even a halfway decent game, we'd have won that one. They should have lost last week at Missouri. There was a little pass interference penalty there at the end that just really wasn't. The game just had a weird feel to it in the fourth quarter. And Kentucky came back and won after trailing the entire game. I don't know. I'm just not sold on them. I think their best days for the season are behind them. In other words, I think that I think Georgia's going to win this game. They're just too talented. They're starting to come into their own right now. They played really, really well last Saturday. I was really impressed. Jake Fromm, that was probably one of the best games I've ever seen him play. They finally got the tight end involved in a lot of stuff there. Isaac Nauta, big talented tight end for Georgia, with several key catches down the seam. I mean, they look really good with that. I'm going to take them here in this game. I don't think Kentucky's going to be able to keep this one close. After about midway through the third quarter, I see the Georgia Bulldogs. Superior depth, starting to pull away. Yep, Kentucky's defense is good, but I don't see them being able to be quite on the level with Georgia in this game, and I think the Bulldogs get the victory there. Mizzou on the road at Florida. This is an interesting matchup here. I really don't, Missouri, I don't know if they're a really good team or not. They should have beaten Kentucky this past weekend. They got Drew Lock back. He'll throw the ball all over the ballpark. And they got a running game, too. Larry Roundtree and Demara Crockett, both capable running backs. You don't hear a lot about them because all you hear about is Drew Lock and their receivers. Florida coming off a disappointing loss in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party to Georgia Bulldogs, 37-16, or 36-17, excuse me. Had that one, had the dyslexic numbers there. Mizzou is one of those teams that I think plays much better at home than what they do on the road. I don't see this being exactly a great matchup for them. I think the game will be halfway close, because the fact that Florida's not that good of an offensive team. And Mizzou, I don't see them putting up a lot of points in this one either. Florida's good defensively. Say what you want. I mean, they gave up a lot of points to the Georgia Bulldogs, but Missouri's not Georgia. I see a close game here, 10 points or less, but I don't see Missouri being able to cover that 6. I don't think they're going to be able to keep it quite that tight. I can see Florida winning, this game 27-20, 28-20, something like that. Go on ahead and give me the Florida Gators here, cover the spread in that one at home, and kind of get back to reality a little bit. Michigan State on the road at Maryland. They are 2-point favorites on the road. Maryland, I think, perhaps overachieved a little bit this year, given the situations that happened over the summer up there. Have played a little bit above their heads there. Their last time out that I saw them, they played Iowa and absolutely got spanked on the road. And now we got Michigan State at home, another team that's been up and down this season. Had some, had the good win on the road at Penn State, had the disappointing loss at home to Michigan, where they just really couldn't do anything. Maryland coming in 5-3. The big win to open up the season over Texas. However, disappointing loss at Michigan. Also, disappointing loss at Iowa. This is a tough one to call. Illinois actually was their last game, and they won that one by 30 points out. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go on ahead and go with the Terps in this one. They're at home. They seem to play pretty well when they're at home, and I'm going to go on ahead and give it to them. In fact, I believe they are undefeated at home this season. No, they're not. They lost to Temple. Excuse me. I'm going to go on ahead and give it to them here. Michigan State's not impressed me at all this year. I think they're just a very inconsistent bunch. Give me the Terps to cover here. Iowa State on the road at Kansas. Iowa State is a 14-point favorite on the highway in Lawrence, Kansas. Second game in a row where Kansas is at home. You know what they did last week? They won. A big win at home against TCU. Iowa State comes in ranked number 24. Of course, they have biggest win on their resume would be that victory at home against West Virginia a few weeks ago. They beat Texas Tech last week. They've beaten Oklahoma State. I don't think this team really gets as much love as they should. I mean, I really, looking at that kind of resume, you'd think they would be ranked a little bit higher than number 25. Why are they not? They lost to TCU on the road earlier in the season. If they wouldn't, I believe this team would be ranked inside the top 20. Because their only other losses are to Iowa and Oklahoma. Two really good teams. 14 points is not a lot. I think that they would be favored by more than that. I think this is a little bit of an overreaction to Kansas's win over TCU. But you got to think TCU's kind of an embattled team. They kicked one of their best players off the team. Their quarterback, Sean Robinson, can't play the rest of the year either. He's injured. Go on ahead and give me Iowa State here. I think they're going to run away with this one over Kansas. I'm sorry. Syracuse on the road at Wake Forest, laying 4.5. On the highway in Winston-Salem, Wake Forest, not a very good team at all on the defensive side of the football. And Syracuse, we know, can put up some points. 4.5 is not a lot. So on their return trip to the Carolinas for the Fruit, they're favored by 4.5 over Wake. And you're going to have to go on ahead here and give me Syracuse in this one. I think their quarterback, Dungy, I don't know if he's hurt or not. He got hurt in one of the games, the last games they played. It may have been the NC State game. They looked good last week against NC State. Jumped out to a big lead there and were able to hold on 51-41. They beat North Carolina. They have a couple of close conference losses against Clemson and Pittsburgh, but I still think they're much superior to Wake Forest here. I don't think that line's nearly enough. I thought it would be double digits. Oklahoma State at Baylor. Baylor's an 8-point underdog at home against Oklahoma State. These teams are both just full of surprises. Baylor covered the spread, kept the game close against Oklahoma. I believe it was Oklahoma State last week with the big win, upset win over Texas. This is one where I don't know what to take of this one. I don't know what to make of either one of these teams. Baylor has played well at times this year, and then if you saw last Thursday night against West Virginia, they absolutely got embarrassed. So they're going to make some kind of redemption here at home. I don't think they're going to do it. I don't see it happening. I think Baylor's kind of tired. I think they're kind of tired. I'm going to go ahead and take Oklahoma State here to cover that 8 points, win by a couple of touchdowns against Baylor. Rutgers on the road at Wisconsin. The Badgers are laying 30 at home against Rutgers. This is a no-brainer. I'm going to go ahead and take Rutgers. I don't know that Wisconsin's even capable of scoring much over 30 points, to be honest with you. They did score. They covered the spread against Illinois when I took Illinois a few weeks ago. But Wisconsin coming off that loss to Northwestern, I think they're a little bit of a down team. Memphis on the road at East Carolina. The Memphis Tigers laying 13 points on the highway in Greenville, North Carolina against the Pirates. That's an interesting matchup. Pirates a couple of weeks ago took on UCF and kept that game fairly close before dropping it. Memphis is 4-4. They're coming off of that Missouri game a couple of weeks ago, in which they just absolutely got taken out behind the woodshed, beat 65-33. That was a game I had picked them to cover the spread in. I thought that they would come up with a little bit better showing than what they did there, but it was not to happen. Memphis has got a good offense. They can put some points up on the board. We know East Carolina is definitely capable of giving up some points. But they are 2-5, and I think most people predict them to be like 2-10 to finish out the season. So they've pretty much won their won their allotment of games. I don't think everybody thought they were going to beat UNC. I thought it would have been North Carolina A&T. Go on ahead here and give me Memphis in this one. I don't think 13 points is quite enough. I think they beat East Carolina. It could be. This could be a little bit of a tougher game than what they would expect. But I'm going to go on ahead and take Memphis to cover here, win by 14 to 17 points. I think it's going to be a lot more than that, but they will win by that. Air Force on the road at Army. These two teams, they tangle every year for the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. Air Force has a victory over Navy so far this year. They absolutely woodshedded the midshipmen 35-7 earlier in the season. They're on the road at Army, a team at 6-2. Similar styles offensively. Both hard-nosed, really gritty type teams. This is a tough one too. This big game being at Army, you're looking back through what they've done this season. Last week was just a really good win for them on the road at Eastern Michigan. That was a team that plays really good defense. They were able to put up some points on the road against them. Just going ahead here, take the Black Knights of Army here. I'm going to take them to cover the spread against the Air Force cadets, Falcons, whatever we call them, the Falcons of Air Force, and take the victory in that game. I think put them in the driver's seat for the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, and they should be at Navy at the end of the year, second year in a row. Texas A&M on the road at Auburn. Auburn is a 5-point favorite in Jordan-Hare Stadium against Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is a better team here, and I think that 5-point underdog role is a little bit of an overreaction to them losing that game at Ole Miss or Mississippi State, last Saturday night. They didn't play well at all there. I think they're going to come back and redeem themselves here. I don't think Auburn's very good, but neither one would surprise me if it went either way. But I'm going to take Texas A&M in this one. Nebraska on the road at Ohio State. I haven't seen the Buckeyes. They've been on the back of a milk cart, man. They've been missing ever since that Purdue scored 49 points on them a couple of weeks ago. Everybody's laughing about that one. I don't know. I don't share the hatred for Ohio State like some of the other college football fans do. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they get good players, and they win games consistently. I mean, one good thing I can say about them, they're not Clemson, so there's that. They got Nebraska at home. Nebraska's on a 2-game winning streak, I believe. They beat Minnesota a couple weeks ago to win their first Big Ten game, and God knows when. And then last week, they got a victory at home against Bethune-Cookman, a team from the FCS. The line on this one's has actually drawn down to 17.5 there. A lot of money coming in on Nebraska in that game. What's going to become of this one? I don't know. Ohio State definitely give up some points. That 20.5 is a lot. That's a lot given the way that they've been playing. Wow. I'm going to go on ahead and take Nebraska in this game to cover that. I think they're definitely a program on the rise. They're not going to make a bowl this year. They're not going to have a winning record or anything like that. But they're building a foundation for the future there. Go on ahead and give me Nebraska here and to look good and make a good showing in this game. Now they're not going to win, but they'll give it an old college try. Georgia Tech on the road at UNC. Georgia Tech laying 4.5 points on the highway against UNC. This is another one that's just a no-brainer to me. UNC's defense is not very good. They've given up a ton of points this year to teams that can move the ball at will, like Miami Hurricanes. Just absolutely obliterated them. That Georgia Tech run game is strong. Saw what they did with Virginia Tech a couple weeks ago, or last Thursday night. It wasn't a couple weeks ago. I'm going to take Georgia Tech in this one to cover that spread. 4.5 points is not a lot when you're running that kind of offense at the clip that they do. So let's take them in that one. Georgia Southern on the road at UL Monroe. All I know about Georgia Southern is they are ranked inside the top 25 this week. I do believe they came in, what were they ranked at this week? Maybe they're not. They're not ranked. But they are 7-1. Louisiana Monroe Warhawks come in with a 4-4 record. You know, you'd look at this one, you'd think, man, this it's not of a very big line, but UL Monroe is a decent football team. They had a big gap in the middle of their season there where they gave up a ton of points. Gave up 70 to Ole Miss, 46 at Georgia State. They have bounced back, got a couple of wins. They got the win at versus Texas State and win over Coastal Carolina. I don't know. Nothing here I see is very impressive to me. When I watched Georgia Southern play against Appalachian State and beat them by 20 points, I mean, they were fast. They ran that option. They ran it fast. They ran that the way it's supposed to be done. I don't see UL Monroe being able to stop that choo-choo train. Go on ahead and give me Georgia Southern and Shea Wertz Company to cover the spread there at 7.5 points. Tulane on the road at South Florida. South Florida, of course, taking their first loss last week against Houston. Tulane is a 3-5 team coming off of I think a lot of people thought they were going to be a little bit better than what they are this year. They have been a little bit disappointing, but that 3-5 record may be a little bit deceiving. They've played some close games. They played Wake Forest really close early on in the season. Played Southern Methodist last week, 2 weeks ago, and barely lost that game. So, 7.5 points, though. Not a lot when you're at home and you're South Florida. I think they're going to be looking to rebound in this one. Going ahead and give me doubles to cover this one. K-State on the road at TCU. This is an interesting matchup. Both these teams, man, it's kind of flip-flops. Like West Virginia and who else in the Big 12 has really made an ascension? Texas Tech is one of them. I would say he's made an ascension. Iowa State's made the ascension over the past year and a half or so. Kansas State and TCU, a couple of teams that kind of fallen off the map. Kansas State more so the entire year. TCU about from the midway point of the season through now. They're 8-point favorites at home. I think that's a bit much, given the way that they've been playing football this year. Given the fact that they're starting quarterbacks out, and they lost another one of their good players, kicked off the team. Well, sometimes these teams, when they get holed into a corner like that, they play the role of the caged animal and they come out swinging a little bit. Or in this case, shooting blood out of their eyeballs. Give me TCU in this one. I think TCU will cover the spread. Kansas State, not very good at all. Let's go ahead and take with them. And the last one of the evening, FSU. On the road at NC State. Wolfpack laying 7 points at home to the Backpack Bandits of Florida State. Really disappointed me last week the way they played against Clemson. I thought they would have given them a much stiffer test than what they did. I got Tater Fan in my comment section tonight. One of my Tater friends, and he's telling me I don't watch the game. I'm a casual fan because I don't realize how good Florida State's defensive line is. And they got 3 first-round draft picks on there, and yada yada yada. Okay. I guess that's why they're 4-4 and almost losing games to Stanford. And they're losing to the Fruit 30-7. They're losing to Clemson by like 100 points. I guess that defensive line it's wonderful, huh? You know, it may be. And they may have a couple of talented guys up there. But the fact of the matter is, their offensive line can't keep their defense off the field. Their offensive line is horrible. They can't move the ball. They're just a shell of their former selves. Given time, I think Willie Taggart may be able to fix this mess. I think this is all Jimbo Fisher. I think it's a lot of recruiting issues that have happened in the past there. Just didn't build on with what they had. It just really kind of let that program go for a couple of seasons there. Now you're seeing the fruits of his lack of labor. This is a home game for NC State. They had a disappointing loss last week too. Man, this is one of the toughest ones of the night. There's been some tough ones on here. Now, if I do well this week, it's gonna be quite the accomplishment. Because these are some tough ones to pick. They're at home. I think NC State's just a little bit better than Florida State. I'm sorry, I just do. I think that I trust them a little bit more to be able to put some points on the board than I do Florida State at this point. Give me the Wolfpack to cover the 7-point spread at home. All right, guys, that's it. My picks and predictions for week number 10. Feel free to check in later on this weekend and see how I did on them. If you like the video, hit it with a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you didn't like the video, hit it with a thumbs down. It doesn't really matter to me. Any reaction equals it equals interaction. That's what I'm looking for. Your reaction equals an interaction. So that means someone watched my video if I'm getting a thumbs up or a thumbs down. We surely do appreciate it. And I will see you guys at the ball games. Peace. I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks.